Hey, how's it going, folks? My name's Matthew, aka EZBOT, and today we're going to talk about using the Octatrack as a performance mixer, as we often do here. But more interestingly, so we're going to talk about using it as a mega performance mixer. We're talking 128 performance effects that I currently have in this Octatrack, and I realized I could be doing this more often, where I have these multiple versions of my performance templates I like to design, or just multiple versions. Let's break this down in a more simple manner. Just multiple versions of parts spread across banks that each have 16 effects in it per part, or 16 effects per part. And I can have these parts for different kinds of music. So I can have a section that has 64 different effects, or 16 effects, or a few effects if I wanted, that are particular to a type of music I'm playing. So I can have a techno section, I can have a drum and bass section, I can have a house section, I can have an experimental type section, or an ambient section, and I've designed effects for all of those genres, which you can find on my Patreon. But what I want to talk about today is this particular setup, and I think I've mentioned it in streams before, but I want to dive a little bit more into the nitty gritty, the details of it, and then we're gonna hopefully get into some music production. But I want to talk a little bit more about how I have this functioning and why I did this. And it's going to bring up some cool topics for us to discuss. But mostly it's because I perform a lot with the M8 tracker here, if you're not familiar with this sucker right here. Great machine, really fun to write with. It's very song oriented, let's put it that way. I mean, you can use it in a context that's a lot more similar to that of Electron, where you're, launching rows, so to speak, of tracks or patterns. But to me, it works even better as this like song mode writing tool. With that in mind, I feel like the Electron workflow kind of has a more improvised live experience where it's much more convenient to be hands-on. And so therefore I can use different performance effects, whereas instead of using an effect to mask transitions, which is what I kind of do with my performance mixer, in Electron I can actually just turn knobs here and kind of use them in conjunction with the performance effects on the Octatrack, with high pass filters and reverbs and stuff like that. I can actually get into the nitty gritty and alter a sound. That's not as easy to do with the M8 tracker in this scenario, or a Polyam tracker, or any tracker, just that kind of workflow, where it's more of a song mode and there's less hands-on controls. There's not a bunch of encoders for me to tweak. Even if I hook up a MIDI controller to it, it would be absolute positioning, so it would snap to different locations. I find that very uncomfortable in live performance and not very usable. That being said, that's when I designed another template for the Octatrack. I called it the Hyper Effects template, and I have these magnets for it, right? And but then I was like, I took this hiatus from playing shows because, there's the life was happening. I had a kid, and then I moved, and all this crazy stuff happened in my life, and I was like, I need to take a break from this. And in that break, I wrote a bunch of music on my tracker, and then I decided I need to design a way to have fun with my tracker. This is a conversation that comes up really often in these private lessons that I have, and it's a great segue into what's going on with the Octatrack and why I designed what I'm going to share with you on the Octatrack today. So very commonly, I have these discussions with people during these one-on-ones that I do. And often what we're discussing is, why did we get into electronic music? Why did we get into Electron in particular, usually, because people are usually hitting me up for lessons on Digitax or Syntax or Octatracks and so on and so forth along the Electron lineage. And oftentimes I'm like, hey, so what is your musical experience? Trying to judge, where are you at? What kind of language, how can I speak with you? At what level can I use musical language? Should I talk in a way that is more of layman's terms, or can we use, talk about envelope generators and LFOs and modulation and that kind of language, right? And to determine where people are at in that discussion, I want to get their musical experience. And so often the musical experience is, hey, I'm in my 30s to 40s, and I'm a musician, and I'm looking to play music still, but I'm kind of confined to these time limitations, and I can't be extremely loud like I could be with my guitar amplifiers or my drum kits, or, I don't have the bandmates that I used to have. That brings you to electronic music 2025, and a couple years back where I feel like it really kind of popped off for a lot of like guitarist and singer-songwriter type musicians to jump into electronic music. But with one of those problems in this conversation that always comes up is, that these musicians that I'm communicating with, they don't feel like they're playing music anymore when they write electronic music. And so that's why they like Electron, and that's why I like Electron, and that's the conversation we end up having is we like Electron because we feel like we're in control. We feel like we're still participating in the performance side of the music, and because when you're playing guitar, singing, or playing drums, you are very active in that act, and people see you doing something, and they notice that you are doing these things, and they're watching you participate in the performance itself. That's where the Octatrack came in for me, and why I started building these performance mixer templates. I wanted more to do in a live setting, and I didn't want to use my laptop. And that was kind of the idea, or a computer. That was kind of the idea behind jumping on the Octatrack and starting to design these templates. I wanted high-pass filters with noise sweeps and beat repeat effects and stutter effects, and I wanted to design them myself and make them unique. And the machine did that for me. Very cool, extremely powerful device, still many years later after its initial launch. It's an old box, it's heading towards 15. It's crazy to think that it's that old. We're still dying for a Mark II, or not a Mark II, I'm sorry, an Octatrack 2. So what I'm getting at with this long dialogue is that when I start using the M8 tracker, I wanted more to do with the tracker, so I designed a template that created all these cool glitchy beat repeat effects, and it gives me lots to do, and it's fun, it's rhythmic, you have to have some timing to actually use the effects, and you're jumping through different moments in time, and it's kind of remaking the track for you. So if you don't have some hands-on control, you still jump into your tracker and play with some hands-on control, but then you just mostly play on your Octatrack. And it's a lot of fun, but also I like performing with my Electron boxes. When I perform with the Electron boxes, we're playing like doing some, some techno production. Some more minimal techno, housey, dubby stuff. And I get to get all hands-on and play with that, and the effects that I use for it exist in a particular bank. And so I have a full performance template. My Performance Mixer 3.06 B actually is the version, but it's Performance Mixer 3.06, which is, kind of like my crown jewel of performance templates that I've designed. It's years of me making performance templates that led to the iteration of 3.06. And what it has in it is, noise sweeps and risers and beat repeats and some glitch effects and cool filters and automated filters and manual filters and live looping and dual bus inputs, DJ EQs, and just like the whole thing is just, I've thought about it for a long time, and I think I thought it out well, and I've shared it with countless people at this point. So I feel like it's an established tool for live performance. It's done a good job, all thanks to the Octatrack, right? Octatrack is the bomb. And of course, there's going to be a lot of conversations coming up over the next years, for sure, about whether you get a Digitech 2 or an Octatrack, now that the Digitech 2 has slicing, and that's a whole conversation for us to have that maybe we'll have later today, but not right now. So the way that this functions, having these like two sets of 128 effects, and the truth is that it's really 112 effects that are unique, because some of the effects double up, because when I'm in a certain part on my Octatrack, say I'm in part 1, I want my high pass, my low pass filter, and my looper to exist in the same location at all times. And so those effects get doubled, or quadrupled in this case, since we have 4 parts on our Octatrack. I always know where I can find those effects. The same thing goes when I'm using the HyperEffects templates, which in this particular situation you'll find on bank 9 patterns. All these banks, 9 through 16, are HyperEffects. Every pattern's HyperEffects from that stage on, and every pattern is, you can hear it. It does these like crazy time stretch effects. And they're a lot of fun. They work really well with the MA tracker. And I've shown these effects off for months now because that HyperFX temple's been out forever. But really what I wanted to get at is something that I wanted to offer folks on my Patreon, and right now it is a Patreon exclusive, is that you can get your hands on this particular template, which merges the Performance Mixer template on half of it and the HyperFX template on half of it. And what I do in my live shows, and if you go on Modular Seattle, the YouTube channel, or on Twitch, you can see me perform on there, and you can watch me do exactly what I'm about to discuss. So as I'm performing, maybe I'd start my show off with some like M8 tracker, and let's see, here's what I would do. Pull up a track. So I would pull up a track like this, and let me get, where's that little sucker at? Oh. Okay. Ah. These things, if you don't know what this is, right here, this thing, you need it. You need this in your life. They're made by RetroKits. They are an A or B MIDI split, and you just plug it in. I just pretty much plug them into every MIDI jack that I can. They're a little expensive, so I only have 4 of them, but I wish I had more of them. Yeah, I'm rhyming today. All right, so this is what I would do in a live scenario. I would quite literally, I just unplugged my MIDI cable, this lighting up MIDI cable, which you can get eventually from my shop, and I replaced it with this RetroKits cable, and I just plug it to the MIDI in, and I sit on one pattern on my Octatrack. This is so simple. I've streamlined it such to make things, that MIDI cable to stay, such that everything's very simple for me. I'm all about making this as easy as possible for me in a live setting. I have too many times performed shows, and for me, performing it's not about like making money at shows. I'm passionate about performing because it's my thing. It's my hobby. It's what I like to do. I like to write music and then go play shows. And these machines, I do for work. Like, I teach people how to use them. I've been fortunate enough to gain an audience that allows me to do that. But my passion is to play, is to write and go play. And so everything is built around that idea of like, let's go play music. So that being said, I'm always trying to simplify every procedure that I do. Everything. I want to make it as simple as possible for less mistakes and more enjoyment for me as a performer. You know, and that's sometimes why I use less modular than other people during a performance, because it can get a little crazy. I think this is the video. I always forget if it's the left one or right one. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So for instance, say I start off a show. The way I would start off my show with my M8 tracker is I would have it plugged in already, and M8 tracker is great about queuing up songs and stuff. It's very smooth. It's a good experience. And I would just hit, play. And it's going to send clock over to my Octatrack. Make sure it's loud enough. Cool. So that's how I'll start it off. I'll start off playing with my mate. And then what I'll do is I'll get through a couple of tracks. I'll be using the HyperFX template. I'll be doing these effects where I'm just jumping all over the place. But anyhow, I'm jumping through these performance templates, and then I'll go to track 1, and then I'll be over in Performance Mixer land. These are the Performance Mixer 3.06 effects. And they're very tasteful and fun for programming and jumping around. probably help if I switched my MIDI cable back over into my Electron one. So this is something that I'd have to do during the performance. And so what I do is I'll jump from using this MIDI out, and I'll have to physically unplug it because the two clocks, I can't have them. This is going to send clock, this is going to send clock. So I physically unplug it during like a breakdown, like this is looping, and I can unplug a cable and plug another thing in, and it will just keep doing this with the last piece of audio that it had. This has these great buildups. And so what is so great about it is just the idea that I can jump from using these like glitchy performance effects and having 64 of them, and then jump over to having another 64 of more like techno, classic, electronic inspired, or typical electronic EDM type effects at my disposal. So both effects, which is great, and a lot of fun. It's just an incredible amount of fun. So that's kind of what I was getting at. What I did to do this is I actually had to like copy bank files and put them in different projects and then test them out and make sure that there wasn't any sort of weird stuff going on. And it is a bit of an experiment. This is why I only offer it on my Patreon, because it gets a little experimental. Some of the effects from like the Hyper Effects template versus Performance Mixer template, they're just hard on the Octatrack's brain. And so switching between them can be a little janky sometimes. But as you heard, I was like sending a MIDI message that sent those mutes, and now I have to go in and also fix whatever other data that was being sent to my Octatrack from my M8, which honestly was probably coming from it being connected to this out of the screen is the Launchpad Pro Mark III, which is sending MIDI back. So probably what was going on is the Launchpad Pro Mark III was just sending data from it into the mate, which is going into my Octatrack. Stuff like that you have to keep in mind, because it's only happened when I actually had that plugged in, I realized. So I'm pretty sure that's why. And the reason I got that thing was to perform live. Always an interesting scenario. But really cool. And I'm just, there was something about I've been thinking about the Octatrack, of course. I'm always thinking about the Octatrack, but I was thinking about the Octatrack and quite a bit lately. I made that video on the Digitakt 2 getting slicing, and it even has transient detection, which is something the Octatrack doesn't have. Although I do have to say, like, that Electron needs to fix transient detection on the Digitakt 2. It appears that it just detects the largest transient. It doesn't know where, if it's in the right spot or not. It should still, doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a large transient for it to be the right transient. But there's just a lot more to think about with these two boxes now. And even more so, I think that the Digitakt 2 getting slicing has made the Octatrack be more of a performance mixer and more of a reason to treat it as a performance mixer, and even less of a reason to treat it as a groove box, even though it is an amazing music production groove box. But I do think that the Digitakt 2 is just so streamlined for music production that it's really, if you have an Octatrack and a Digitakt, it's really easy to just convert your Octatrack into performance mixer territory and just jam on your Digitakt with some effects from your Octatrack. I just find that really useful. But that was kind of my TED Talk for today. I just wanted to bring that up and share that I thought it's pretty cool to be able to use these effects in this way, or have so many of these effects. That being said, I think from this point on, we should write some music. And what I kind of feel like writing is like, I don't even want to say if it's like techno or not, but something wide in the stereo field and something that could be very repeatable, like could play for a very long time without getting really boring, which means stuff like probability and trig conditions need to come into play. And also small sounds instead of larger sounds. So maybe more of those like high pitched kick drums that are just kind of sweepy type kicks, sleepy kicks, and sweepy kicks. And lots of reverb and delay. And I thought about grabbing like some sort of effects pedal and bringing it out here. I wanted to get like the Microcosm or a Mood Mark II and bring it over and mess with it, but just wasn't in the cards this afternoon. So let's start on a blank pattern. We got, we've got some default sounds in here. So these are the defaults that come with it. Except for this, I put that in there. This is a sample that I made. And the rest are from packs. Or no, it's not. It's called Detroit Rush. It's a sample I put in there, I guess, but I didn't make it. I don't need to make it. What I want to do is probably use the digatone. Let's jump. I think I want to start with like kind of like a lush, like ambient type pad, and then just have it be like 8 bars long and have really slow, long modulations going, and then put in sparse drums to kind of play with the pad, and then have like kind of echoey sounds on top of the pad, like kind of bouncy, delayed pings. I think that sounds like some cool music to write. So this is, coming up with an idea before you start writing your music. I don't know how often that is helpful. Sometimes that's helpful for me. Sometimes I'm like, I have this goal, I'm going to make this style, and I sit down to do that. Right now, I know that I really want to make something that's very chill. I feel like I would love some sort of chill in my environment, so I'm going to go with that. So I'm going to start with I always put my bass on 1 and 9. So I like to have 2 versions of everything for playing live. And usually I'll put like a noise sweep on 16 and something on, I don't know. I haven't decided what goes on 8. There's so many tracks I haven't picked everything out yet, but maybe I'll do chords. Lately I've been doing chords on 7, so let's clear this out. There's something going on there. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of decisions that apparently have already been made. And maybe we'll just make a pad from scratch. Let's check out this this chord scenario. Chord center. Maybe go to we need to give it a little bit of juice. Oh, there's These chords are a little too happy for me. Whole tone, no way. These are good. Okay. These are actually pretty nice sounding chords for what we're going after. Surex Media says, yo, I recently got an Octa and love it. Got a question for you though. Is there a reason for you to have the digatone and digatext volume not on 100%? Yeah, I think there's actually a great reason. I don't want anything's volume to be at 100% because that means that it can't get any louder. I mean, I don't like not having any headroom on any parameter. If I can, I would like to have headroom. I'd like to be able to adjust it. If I have it at 100%, that means that all I'm able to do is reduce volume. And this actually sounds like, and from the looks of my Octatrack, not even at 100%, I'm already, you know, clipping a bit. I am using plus 63, which is pretty normal. Really, I used to use it like this, where both were set up at 12 o'clock to give me 50% headroom both ways. So if you're performing live, you would like to probably know, or the sound guy would like to say, hey, can you turn it up? You know, and be like, oh, yes, I can. Or the sound guy's like, hey, can you turn it down? You know, and I'd like to be able to have control over that both ways. But if I do this, it's very quiet. There we go. Now it's not clipping my Octatrack. And so let's see how loud this is. Nice. Get back to our pattern. Were we on 8? That's kind of cool. That sounds pretty nice right there. Let's get a modulation for the harmonics. That might make it a little too crazy using the ratio offset there. In FM synthesis, just even a minor ratio offset is a pretty profound value. That sounds really cool now too. So let's do that. Clear this LFO first. I'll set it to trig mode, that way every time I hit my key, it'll reset that. Reset the LFO's phase and start it over from the beginning of this shape. Okay, like I said, I wanted to make like a pad type sound, so I think I'm gonna, filter this a lot. Sounding pretty good already. Let's do this. Sounds nice. All right, let's adjust this reverb and delay. Looks like I already did. So what I say when I'm saying let's adjust this reverb and delay, what I want to do is I want this delay to be big. I want my delays to be huge. I think they sound really fun. I like delay. I think delay and reverb are the funnest effects to mess with. Like they just turn any sound into something way bigger than it was, right? And like a really wide delay sounds sick. It's so stereo now. And this is the kind of sound that I was wanting. I'd like to give it more depth, but I want this attack to be longer. Let's see what some reverb sounds like with it. Sounds really good. I think with our last LFO, we should just do the classic vibrato. Vibrato. We want to go to pitch all. We don't need to have it be we don't need the phase to be reset on vibrato, even though it does sound good. And we don't really want to go past 0.30. It's a little cuckoo. Even this is strong. Very Boards of Canada. Use a triangle instead of a sign. Maybe I'll tone it down a little bit even. Yeah. Sounded pretty sick. So I think the question for myself now, and maybe you can help me, is I want this to be, do I want to do this at a lower, slower tempo and then use lots of trigs? Or do I want to do this at a faster tempo and use less trigs? Because I want to have a lot of small sounds. I like the idea of it being a little bit faster and then just kind of like sporadically putting drums in with lots of trig conditions. That way they can have those quicker moments. Because you can use a retrig to kind of like get that job done. To have the faster, action of a drum trigger in your sequence in a lower tempo. You can use a retrig at a higher speed, a higher rate. The only problem is that retrig will only retrigger a singular sample. So it's going to be one sound that's retrigged. If I speed up the tempo and have less stuff on my sequencer, then I can use more different sounds. Do you get what I'm saying? That's kind of where my head's at. So maybe we do go with a little bit of a faster tempo. So let's take this up a bit. Maybe we'll go up to like 150. It's not too fast. It's not drum and bass fast. It's like techno fast, but I think it's going to be more of like this electro vibe that we're going for. And let's also, let's swing this sucker. Take it to 56. We got to do that over here. All right, yeah, it's looking good to me. And I think like I could use a kick drum like this. Sounds like that will work really well. But I feel like this kick needs to be like much quieter and muted throughout its sequencing. I love this chord memory. Like, find a chord that we really like and use it. Let's just Which one was it? Was this? We've got that one there. Maybe make it go for... That's short. Let's copy this trigger really quick, get rid of it, and let's expand the sequence out. Because it's definitely going to be 8 bars long. Make sure these are the same. I'm just checking my page scale right now. I want to make sure. I like to write in 8 bars, so I'm using a reset of 128. You could use your change. The problem is that when you use your change parameter and you have multiple electron boxes, you have to match that as well. But if you try and use like infinity on your reset and just try and rely on your change to move through your boxes, the change will always come late to the box receiving the program change from the other box. Whereas if you use a master reset, the change will be immediate. So I do try and stick to using master change for that reason alone. Just much more effective, so to speak. I believe we could put this on the 1. I don't think that's a bad idea. Well, we could go with that. What I think is really great is that when you're programming notes on the Digiton, you're using the note mode, and we're using this keyboard to kind of like, you know, it's doing the center focus mode of our chord progression, is that you can just hold function and select a new spot, and it will just bring you to a new location for you to drop another chord. Right now, I think I'm good with just one chord on this first page of 16th notes. We just need to expand the length of it so that it plays for a good length of time, and then probably mess with some parameter locking. You go for the whole length and see what happens. That's not bad. And if we want to edit the actual notes, we can adjust, you know, their velocity if we want, the length at which each note plays, and then we can even offset them, which is kind of wild. And go negative and make it sound a little bit more humanized. If I go negative on this part of it, we won't even hear it. So that one shouldn't be. If it's the beginning of a phrase or beginning of a bar, you don't want to go negative there because it won't play that note until we loop around the sequencer. So let's just make these a little off, a little humanized. Also remove some of their velocities in certain notes. Increase some. You know, just try and give it a little bit of life. Even make this play a little shorter than another note. Play a little longer. I think that we did those little changes, but they, as gradual as they are, or as minor as they are, they're effective. Let's give ourselves a little, like, drum pattern. And I want to play with some filtering of these drums. I'm just going to use low-pass filters. Could use a band. Using the I'm using a low pass filter, but I'm also using the bass width filter to get rid of the low end because I don't need that low end there. I just want to kind of like have this stuff dance around in the background. In fact, I'm going to try and get as much leverage as I can out of this single kick drum track. use a lot of these like smaller kick sounds. I like it. Let's give it another bar and adjust this bar. We'll move this one over. So I think a lot of people often think to use the velocity as their volume adjustment in their boxes. And I think that's not the best use of velocity. I think velocity is really useful if you are using an external controller and you want to send velocity sensitivity because you're going to express yourself with your hands and hit that velocity in. But going over to your trig page and bringing the volume down with the velocity seems very counterintuitive versus going to your amp page, which everything in your amp page is controlling the dynamic of your volume and where it is in the stereo field. And it just makes more sense to just stay on this page. And if you want to do accenting or reduction of volume, to just turn the volume down on your trigger. If you want sounds to be shorter, do them in your envelope generator. As opposed, I mean, you always have to do that part in your envelope generator, but as opposed to using you know, the velocity, which can be completely untied to the box altogether by going to velocity to volume and just turning it right off. And then if you do that, you can turn velocity to volume off and then go over to, you know, your velocity mod and use velocity as a macro to affect other sounds and make something more interesting. Which is cool and really effective with things like the comb filter, and a little bit less effective on the Dig Attack 2 in general compared to something like the Syntact or the Digatone 2, where that is extremely effective. And I actually, this chord might be a little more somber than I want it to be. Let's go back to, yeah, maybe I want to use this chord. Was that the wrong one? Yeah, let's do that. Even this kick coming in real hot for whatever reason. I think I might change it. It's a little bit of a stronger kick drum than I want. So I like that because I can really mute this one. Kick is real strong. My track level's all the way up, maybe that's why. Let's give ourselves something a little more consistent. Let's just play with like really, really small hat, quiet. Yeah, we can even grab other kick drums. Oh, I like that. So it's getting a little busy, which means I think I need to like start playing with the probability a little bit, but definitely where my head was at, and I want to add some more, another chord. I think that was the one, right? Hmm. Okay. Let's see how that sounds. It's two of the same chord, but it's make this one play first. Kinda cool. Get stuff on the left a little bit. A little heavier of a sound than I wanted. Oh, that's pretty cool. Let's make this 100%. Reducing the probability is so nice. I was having this conversation with someone the other day about probability and trig conditions in Electron, and coming from this person was a classical piano teacher, and that perspective, and then learning Electron workflow, they were commenting on how much freedom and expression the trig conditions and reducing of probability and stuff like that adds to the music, because you get stuck in these ways, so to speak, or you kind of have these formalities and ways that you approach music writing, and they become just kind of these. They become conflicts to creativity sometimes, because you feel like you have to do this particular action to achieve music or to achieve what is the right method for certain sounds or for certain progressions. And just reducing the problem, like taking that concept even and just being like, I'm a classical piano teacher, and you maybe put a progression in that is, very contemporary and, a school of thought is behind it. And then you apply probability to it, reducing whether it actually certain events in that sequence that you've written plays, and suddenly it becomes music you didn't anticipate. And I think that's something I need to lean a little bit more into myself. Whereas I've kind of ignored probability and a lot of trig conditions lately in my production, and today we're going to lean into that. We're going to use that as much as possible. Also, what's going on, folks? How's everybody doing? Let me check in with people here. Start up the top. What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? Hyper for the win. Out of curiosity, Powie says, out of curiosity, how deep do you got to be in Electron workflow in digiboxes to consider Octatrack? It really depends on what your goal is. If your goal is to do performance effects on the Octatrack and you just want to use something that someone's already made, like maybe a project I've made, or you just want to follow a tutorial on how to build performance effects, very, very easy, extremely simple. All you got to know how to do is connect MIDI cables and audio cables and understand that functionality of electronic music, like understand how to just do serial connections, and you're good to go. To write music on the Octatrack is a different scenario. And one of the problems with that, or one of the reasons why the Octatrack is elusive at this point and becoming more and more of this mysterious box, despite how much tutorial content there is on the internet, is because Electron evolves. Let's put it that way. And instead of sticking with a very particular set of rules, they'll break their rules and make some new rules. The Octatrack follows some older rules. The Digitact has this new idea of approaching things. So I'm going to compare the two because they're the closest in relationship to each other. And so the more you get familiar with the new stuff that Electron's producing, the further the Octatrack seems from your reach in terms of understanding it and feeling comfortable with it, because it has a bit of an archaic workflow, and it also offers you a freedom to which the other boxes do not. And that can be really hard, because with that freedom comes having to learn a lot of functionality, and also comes that weird ego trip of, I need to use everything this offers, and I need to learn everything about it in order to use it. And you may end up spending all of your time setting up a studio, preparing to make music, learning how to use the machine, and never actually using the machine. And I feel like that is not cool. And I'm not saying that's the way it is for everybody with the Octatrack, but to answer your question, I think it really, I guess what I was getting at is it depends on what you want to do with it. If your goal is to buy an Octatrack to learn it to make music because you love the idea of learning, of like, for the same reason that you play Dark Souls, or that you play Sekiro or Elden Ring or Death Stranding, games like that. The same reason you play these games is because you enjoy the grind of getting good at something that is hard to begin with. The Digitact is not that box, and a lot of other samplers are not like that. There is the grind is getting good for sure, but a lot of it just has to do with how good is your music production. It's not how good you are at the box. And that is something that the Octatrack has, and that's kind of what makes it this cool, mysterious thing. I found the Octatrack pretty frustrating at first. Digitact much more logic workflow. That's exactly what I'm getting at. Some good Crypt of Necrodancer type song. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I was writing some more like video game style music. Got my mouse so far away, it's making me reach far. Let me just fix that. Notice Second Nature worth the time and investment. I agree. I mean, it's not a box that I would ever get rid of. That's for sure. I also would never get rid of a Digitact. I think that if somebody told me I could only make music on one machine, I would be hard pressed not to keep the Digitact 2 as that machine. I would just maybe battle with them about the M8 or the Dig-Attack 2, because the M8 is also a great device to just have everything in one box and accomplish a lot of goals. Does anyone know if it's possible to switch parts via MIDI? I don't think it's possible to switch parts via MIDI. I want to say no. I don't want to, like, I don't have the manual in front of me and I don't have memorized every CC message, but I don't think I've ever seen that. Because if it was, I would have probably had the thought I should have a MIDI controller that switches my performance effects. So I don't think so. Sucking in the electron knowledge. That's good. I wish it all had no footprint to add to the rig. Yeah, so do I. I wish there was no such thing as cables. I wish everything was wireless and zero latency. That's my dream. How about the new Launch Control XL? Seems great for live performances. We can talk about that for a sec, actually. Launch Control XL will likely ship with the same MIDI script that ships with the Launch Control XL Mark III. This is the Mark IV, I believe, that's coming out. There's already a script. I think Ricky Tinez probably made it when he was working for Novation. And if he didn't, someone else did. I mean, there was only so much you could do with it anyway, so it's like, it does exactly what you think. It does mixer controls, it does pan, and that's it. That's really all it does, and solos and mutes. And there's some encoders that you can apply, but they're not. We're talking the old one right now. I'm sorry, the old one didn't have endless encoders. This new version of it could if it has macros, if you can do macros on it, it would be pretty powerful. I do wish it was 16 faders, because then we could use it with Dig-Attacks and Digitones. It does have endless encoders. It does have LED rings that let you know the depth of your control. It does have an LED screen, which tells you what control you're touching. And that's really cool. And I believe you can rename that and actually see that. So I'd say that it's a good controller. Knowing Novation, it's going to be very affordable because Novation and Focusrite, they have a lot of money. They can mass produce massive amounts of product, so they don't have to charge as much for it, which is cool. So I imagine we'll be seeing a lot of those. I don't know enough about it. I am 100% getting sent one by Novation. I confirmed that this week, and we will be testing it with Electron and the Octatrack. We'll see how it goes. I like using the controllers that I use with my Octatrack. I'm still waiting for Roto Control to get a better integration with the Octatrack. That's the one I really wanted to have integrated with the performance effects, was Roto Control. The Chic V2 and then the new Chic that's coming out, it's gonna be really powerful. I really like the Chic controllers. I think they're elegant, and so I've been using that one, and it does macro control. It's very easy to program. It has a little print off and stuff like that. But I am excited about the Launch Control. I don't think faders are very useful to my music production. And that's what my problem is with the Launch Control right now for my workflow, is that I don't know what to do with the faders. I'm not going to use them for volume because faders are not mechanical. And if the faders are not mechanical and switching based on what element I'm currently looking at, what are they going to do for me other than snap to a value that doesn't make sense in a live context? So that I don't like, or that I don't need. Let's just put it that way. So if I can figure out a good use for the faders or a good workflow to use the faders, maybe in a more improvised techno workflow where the faders maxed out to 100% is just the volume that I expect and everything has been adjusted in the amp control. There's a lot, I've been thinking about it a lot because I really want to integrate it somehow, but I think it's very much going to be an improv techno thing that it gets used for. Red zone on the mixer, baby, is where it's at. Not so much. Keep coming back to the Octatrack and using sample chains. Well, it's because it's so simple, you know? It just simplifies music making, I think. Sound like we're in a haunted mansion? Do you like the Torso T1 sequencer? I'd sure like to know if I would. I don't have one. I like watching the wizards stir the cauldron. What's up, Jordan? You love the tact and tone together. Just order the new Digatone to pair with the Dig-Attack modular. Super excited. Might even sell some modules and downsize my case. I imagine you will. A lot of people, I think, sell all of their modules once they get into a good hardware workflow. Love the Electron boxes. I do too. Velocity mod is another DT2 feature that makes me want to upgrade. You know, I'm not a hater, but I don't think that people end up using stuff like that. And maybe it's just me projecting and thinking that I know what people are going to do. It's just that I do private lessons on Electron boxes, like so many every week, and I've been doing them for years now, that I kind of feel like I've gotten a pretty good idea of what people are interested in the boxes. And I know that it's a certain level of skill gap that you have to achieve to start thinking, I'm going to use the velocity mod in a macro. First, you got to understand what's a velocity mod, and you got to understand what's a macro, and then you got to know the machine well enough to find that control, and then you got to know, what to do with that and how to use bipolar controls. And I understand that is another step up. And so maybe the people I'm talking to, they're usually pretty new, and maybe that's why I'm getting that idea. But I just think that those functions don't come into play very often, and they definitely don't come into play on a Digitact very well. But I do think on the Digatone you could get some good use out of it, just because you could use that fader on the launch control XL, put that to velocity, and then use that as a macro and always have it set at 0. There's an idea. You just gave me a good idea. I like using the probability with certain trigs locked to 100%, so you have probabilities just on the parts that it makes sense for. I agree. Yeah, I totally agree. What's up, James Bond? Thanks for the vote of confidence. Appreciate you. There's part of this I don't like in this drum sequence. I think it needs to be longer. Duplicate it, and let's start like moving some stuff around. I do like that better. What note is really standing out there? The C? Chord is now out of the scale. But I like it more than the chord I had there before. That's nice. I kind of want that to repeat. So maybe we can just skip straight over to the page, copy this trig and go to 5, paste it, and then maybe we'll make like some sort of adjustment. Maybe we can adjust one of the notes. Nice. I'm digging. So on my kick track, we brought the probability down to 62%, which is, there's a lot of likelihood that triggers are not going to happen now. And I think that really opened up the kick track, and it's going to give it a lot more life because there was a lot of trigs on it. And this is kind of where I was going when I said I wanted to make a track that was moving at a faster tempo and then take advantage of trig conditions and probability to reduce how full the track sounds, but also to give it life or an organic life of its own. And I feel like that job is getting accomplished. And I don't want this to have too many sounds, so I feel like maybe just like... But we need a bass. I'm thinking like a sub bass or something. Just a... Something like that. Which I like to do on one. Let's see. Make a quick subby bass type patch. We could do it in two different ways. Like we could go to like, you can go to Swarmer and make yourself a sub bass. We got squares. Good lord, what's going on here? Sawtooth sounds pretty good for the sub. I mean, this is more of a Mogi bass. It's not gonna work. Wave tone, we can do it with our sines. Bring this down an octave. Really need some sort of bass accentuation. And we want it to be mono. Like mono legato is fun for this. Did not mean to hit that button. I hit that button all the time. What's kind of nice is that with page loop, we can just sit on a moment and kind of just grind it out. So it's like, I want to go, so we want to use portamento. Turn that sucker on. And we'll just, maybe we'll turn it on, but leave it down to nothing and then turn it up when we need it. So I want to go, I guess I was hearing the C note, which sucks, whatever. We'll go like this, and the length will be what? Quarter note? And then we'll copy it, go down an octave, and use that portamento. Oh, and we'll put it over here instead. I hear another note here. That's nice. Let's loop this page and do another one. So what was it? Let's go. Let's loop these 2 pages. I'm gonna be like, do it again. Here. Let's just paste this page and remove this note and change this. That's happening a little sooner than I want. Okay, now I need to listen to it for a second and get an idea. Maybe this happens too soon altogether. Copy the page, scoot down to this page, paste this page again, and maybe make adjustments, but keep the same timing. Is it on 2? Is that how it went? Yeah. I'm gonna go over here and we're gonna make a track that's gonna be this is gonna be all about little clicks, like tick, 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 little ticky hitting table type sounds. I shouldn't do that, I'll trigger my dog. Dog will come running out here and go insane. Very common dog experience. All right. I have this like whole pack of clicks, which is really fun to use. You know, actually I'll go function samples and we'll just go into click pack. Let's check it out. I've already used a bunch of them. Use that one. All of them. This is a good opportunity for us to look at trigs. And what I mean by trigs is retrigs, the cool trigs, the coolest trigs of them all. What's great about retrig is you can use this volume fade and we can just bring these down to silence. Gotta get rid of this one. We want to go for... Oh, it sounds so sick. We want these to be like all over the place and panning. then maybe let's, you know, reduce that probability. Good filter to use would be this bandpass. Let's try this out. We'll do save it to a temporary state, and then we're gonna do a live record of this bandpass filter. Do it again. Let's hear it without the chord progression. Okay. How do we get this in key? Maybe we don't. Chord. That'd be nice. What is this? Just a sine wave patch. Quantize. Reduce probability. This baseline a little louder. Definitely getting a nice chill vibe, which is what I said I wanted to make today, was something really chill. I wanted to make something that I could have in the back, like something that would play in the background and that could loop for a very long time without having it feel like it's getting repetitive. Which means I think I need to reduce the probability on this even further. It's at 80. So we should be at like... Maybe that bass didn't need a chorus. Maybe we can put a clap in. I'm connecting now. Sorry, is this video for a new template? Hello, Jonathan Scaffedy. Yes, kind of. So what we started off talking about, and my mate was sending MIDI messages to my Octatrack. It kind of screwed up a little bit of the presentation, but was that I have this template that actually mashes 2 pairs of 64 effects. So 2 templates mashed into 1 template. And I was talking about my workflow with using Electron and using another piece of equipment that is a single piece of equipment and taking advantage of performance effects that work with 1 box. So it was these beat repeat, glitchy resample effects that are fairly complex to design on the Octatrack, and then these more, not simple, but more classic effects from the performance mixer. And so what it does is it takes your Octatrack and splits it into 2 different templates. And you can grab this. This is what I use when I play. This is the template I use, even with it sending the weird messages, which actually came from this is the culprit. That's what I get for having that plugged in. Unplug that. And so basically when I'm playing shows, I have my M8 template that I jump to. I just go bank 9, pattern 1, I hit play, and then it's, you know, does effects on that template, and then we have this one, which does like the techno effects. And it's a really fun experience. And you can pick it up on my Patreon. My Patreon is rather affordable, considering how much I list these templates for the Octatrack on Coffee. So to pick them all up on Coffee, pick this up on Coffee and build it yourself would be like $50 or whatever, and you can snag it on the Patreon for $5. So it's worth doing. A lot of fun. It just opens up music. Right now we did that presentation at the beginning of the stream, and now I'm just writing some like chill music that uses trig conditions. As much like probability as possible. I wanted it to be like background, almost elevator music. And I'm getting there. Maybe change this sound out. It might be too... Yeah, that's nice. This be like 2 of 2. Would be like a roll. is sounding like I think I just kind of naturally make a lot of like video game sounding music. TI. It's kind of what I end up doing all the time. I don't know. I don't know what other artists. Let's put a real kick in. I feel like we can like actually have the energy pickup if we wanted, even though I think this is a great vibe. What is so freaking amazing about some of the updates in Electron is that track swap, if you're familiar with track swap on the Digiline, Digitac, Digatone 2, my goodness, that was one of the best updates I did not know I needed. And I love it so much. So right now we have track 1 is was our kick track, and I put a bandpass filter on it pretty liberally. And I think I would like to move the track over and put an actual kick drum down with some like actual oomph to it and see what happens. I'm just, I'm curious about it. We don't have to do the swapping right now, but we will, because I always put my kick on the same track. Track swap is awesome. You go into your control setup and you go to your track swap and then hold 2 tracks and they'll move positions with each other, and just really cool. Let's switch this over to a kick. Bars. If I wanted to move this over, like we could try moving it on the 1. Function while you're in step record lets you do that. Maybe we can play with this probability and just leave this one at 100, and maybe this one, maybe not that one, maybe this one. That was a nice... That effect worked really well for this style of music. That's cool. Maybe we should add some like baseline stuff that happens. Okay, but we don't want this to sound very... They're just ringing out too much. It changes the shape of the wave too much. Should I do that? Should they all be like that? Maybe I should just be using one sine wave. Alright, let's do a little experiment. Oh, completely cooks it. I wonder how this would sound if we did just regular mono. Wait. This doo-doo-doo-doo, this can't play all the time because it's too memorable. So let's do something about that. That's something to think about. So let's talk about that for a second. The advantage of us doing this like lack of probability, these trig conditions, but mostly we're playing with probability and just reducing probability and having certain notes that are 100% probability. Someone mentioned that. They're like, I like doing that. That is what we're doing. One of the things we have to keep in mind is that if we lock something in that is very melodic, this bass patch, this bass line right here, if you hold page when you're in step edit mode, if you're in step edit mode, which is when this is highlighted, and you hold page, you can loop different pages, which is a performance feature and also a writing feature. So for us today, it's a writing feature because we're not performing. So I'm going to lock this page, and I can also jump pages here. So I can lock this page in place and edit this bass line. This bass line has this simple this descending lead, kind of. Sounds awesome, I think. It's in a great spot. The only thing about it is that once you hear it one time, you want to hear it again and again and again. But if you keep hearing it again and again, because these notes are so close together, they're creating an actual melody, whereas this song has no melody. This is a melody. We don't want that. So we can't have this happen very often, which means we're going to have to put trig condition down to make this not happen very often. So I can just hold them all at once like a maniac and, set them to like only play on like 2 of 4 or something. Or 4 of 4. And that's fine because this repeats a lot. You know, this track goes on forever. Maybe 404 is too much. Maybe we do 204. I could route my microphone just like literally right into my dictator. And then we want to turn off external mixer. I want a feedback loop. I believe it's 3-4, and we want this. Hello, 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 hello. Oh no, not that. 7-8. What am I doing? Hello? There we go. I gotta do like a whole video on how I have my setup. I literally just routed my overhead mic into my Digitact. I think I can even put effects on it. It is turning out pretty good. Threshold's too high. Put it on 16. Let's use the new slice machine. Come on, what's up? I can do it with the sequence running? Pretty sick. Oh yeah. Slice. different slices. That zero crossing detection they're talking about. What? Well, now it's working. Got a bug. Low probability. Like it's going across our stereo fields. I'm gonna go hard pan left, middle pan right, hard pan right. It's best with 5 actually, so you can have one in the center. Yeah. That's cool. Make them a little quieter though. slices, longer duration. Oh yeah. Four, because it plays it's such a strong moment. We shouldn't have it play too often. All right. Now I kind of want to play with. Hi-fi. I appreciate the encouragement. Is it awkward to get a fair understanding of how much a lesson 1-to-1 would cost about? Depends on level. Where can I read about that? You can go to EZBOT.live and you can see a bunch of, there's testimonials and stuff. Testimonials are kind of old, but they're accurate. Lessons are $70 an hour, and you just schedule them right from my website. I also have like lesson packs if you want to learn boxes deeply, where you can set up 5 or 10 hours. That's often what I do. I have a couple, like 3 or 4 5 or 10 hour students right now, and we just grind through everything in Electron, everything. Or if you want to do Octatrack, we go show you every nook and cranny of the machine. But I can do the same with pretty much any Electron box at this point. I like this kind of tune, you know? Watching from Jamaica on vacay. This is perfect track for you, my friend. You probably just, if you're in Jamaica, this is playing. Oh. It is a beautiful day, you know. I kind of like, I have, you know, the windows. I have a big glass door next to me, but I have it blocked off so that the lighting stays accurate to, you know, what I like it to look like on my channel. And but this would be better outside. You know, this sound that where I go, whoa, that sound, I don't know. Is it playing in reverse? It is. I like that better. Alright, here we go. Get like an arpeggio or something going? Seems like it could be a cool idea. Maybe something that sounds a little analog. There's all these crazy sounds on here. the primary oscillator. So like the way the oscillators work in the wavetone is you have these two wavetables, and that's what you're that's what you're modifying. You're modifying a wavetable, as you can see, right? When it's set to harmonic, it gives you this larger spectrum of wavetable, but they're not ideal to me. I really wish that this synthesizer, and if Electron is listening or hears this, please give me additional wavetables. I don't want these two sets of wavetables. Harmonic wavetable is so thin, there's nothing in it. I want 100 wavetables. They take up no space. We already have PCMs in here. Please, I love you. Please give me the wavetables. Linear offset is almost useless. Sounds kind of like techno. Drift will offset a note every time a note triggers. This will create more of an offset, which could be cool for us. Especially with the arpeggiator. Too much offset. Sick. LFO to the frequency and slow it way down. Holding function, turning the encoders, moves in larger adjustments, which is nice. We can use a triangle so it goes Actually, we'll use the silence, see what happens. Use a free running mode. That linear offset, was it oscillator 2 that had the really distinct, it was offset 2, yeah, had that really unsettling detune, which I kind of want to play with now. Trig mode with a ramp. Ugh. Okay, here's a good moment for a performance template thing. Let's go for another 4 bars. This is turning out really nicely. I only need to make like 10 more of these to accomplish my goal. Let me tell you my goal and why this goal exists. So I work for this company called Advanced Group 1, and we do like competitive game marketing, and I run a lot of the audio stuff, and I was using a lot of like my chiptune tracks for some of their YouTube releases, and which was getting, great feedback, but I've been using the same tracks a lot for these releases, and people are starting to get frustrated with the same songs being played, and that the energy level of those songs doesn't necessarily match sitting down for like 40 minutes and watching a bunch of professional matches of a game. And so I really wanted to write some music that could kind of sit in the background and kind of evolve over time and not cause a listener to get a little frustrated with like how high energy and huge the music sounds, but still have some, still be my signature, my touch of music without like copying another workflow. So that was this goal, and we accomplished the first part. I have one of a set of like 10 that I want to make of these patterns that are like very probabilistic, that I can kind of just like jam on for like 10 minutes into Bitwig and record it and then master it, and then make another pattern, jam on it for like 10 minutes, master it, and just crossfade those tracks into each other and release that as the background music for the gameplay when you're watching the matches post-match. And that's the idea. So like you're kind of watching me work at the moment, and this is what I do, and it's fun, but also difficult because I sometimes get pigeonholed into certain concepts, and that's where we are right now. Oh yeah, thanks. I'm just checking on the YouTube jamage. All right. Oh, we're at the 2-hour mark. Holy smokes. Cool. Let's just one more time. Let me explain the intro of this live stream, and then also what we accomplished as far as music production goes. So what I wanted to show off today was my HyperFX performance mixer combo, which uses a techno-inspired 64 effects and then a drum and bass glitch-inspired 64 effects. I'm going to reload it because I think I sent some weird stuff over to it. So it has all of these parts that you jump through on your Octatrack, and you can change effects. And in this particular template, it has more like techno-inspired stuff. Dog's after me. Whoa. Dog from hell. Here, I'll show you the original template. See something here. No idea what I've done just now. I believe I need to turn the machine on and off. I think it's having a bug. That's why we're not able to hear my dig attacked anymore. Which, you know, sadly happens. But anyway, I'll get it solved. Cool. My name's Matthew, aka EZBOT. We've been jamming for quite some time, about 2 hours. And that's usually my cutoff mark. And it's been a great time, and hopefully I've taught you something, because I try and, you know, speak. There we go. I did. I just had to turn my Octatrack on and off. I try and, you know, talk through what's going on in tracks as I'm producing, and what I'm doing with, like, the templates. There's a gate. It's gating this side. Build up. Go back to the other template now that I've got it fixed. My Octatrack just needed to restart. And that's the thing, the Octatrack is old, and it needs to restart sometimes. It's just the way it is. I always have to, like, you know, double check that everything is... Cool. Here's the hyper effects. Hey, Gemma. What a maniac. She is super duper loud. These are your time stretch effects. But the idea here is that I have 64 full effects here on from bank 9 to bank 16 that you can jump through and mess with. Actually works good with this music. But you can also jump to bank 1 and play techno effects. This is the Hyper Effects combo. 128 effects with automation. Fantastic for playing live, inspiring for writing music. And that's what I wanted to talk about today, was the combination of these two templates, which is available on my Patreon right now. That's patreon.com/EZBOT. If you're interested in picking up these performance templates that I make for the Octatrack, it is available right now, and it works. I know my Octatrack needed to be restarted. That is not because of the template. That's my Octatrack. It's just beat up. And thanks for hanging out with me while I produce this music. We made this track from scratch, and we were really focusing on probability and reducing probability so that the music could repeat for a long time without feeling repetitive. And that was our goal. Maybe we'll expand it into another pattern at some other time, but for today, I think we've accomplished what we were after. So if you'd like to support this channel, you can just subscribe, leave a nice comment down below, and alternatively, or not alternative, additionally, you could visit and join my Patreon, and there you'll find all these performance templates for the Octatrack, as well as lots of tutorials and a very friendly and thriving community. Also, the Discord is there for you to join. It's free. Go ahead and join the Discord. There'll be a link for that down in the comment section below. And yeah, that's about it. I do this every week, every Tuesday, and look forward to me continuing to do that if you enjoy this kind of live production. Again, my name is Matthew, aka EZBOT. See you all next time.